What's going on, guys? We are back with some more Tower of Fantasy. Today, we're going to be going over Void Rifts. So, before we begin, we get shown the little boss right there, and then they tell you what buffs do more damage and what buffs do less damage. Make sure you take note of that before you start doing it. That way, you have the proper weapons. Now, once we're in it, I like to split off from my team. Our goal in the beginning right now is to collect buffs and retrieve 3 keys before we can challenge the boss. The way we collect buffs is by killing these little triangle things, the little pyramid-shaped things, over the enemies' heads, and then you go ahead and grab them. Now make sure you grab all of them, or at least as many as you can, because each one of those gives a buff. And once you get 3 of the same type of buff, then you will get a thing called a wish buff, which gives a 25% attack and HP buff to all allies. So the goal right now is to get everybody that wish buff, and once everyone gets that wish buff, we'll all have an extra 100% attack and 100% HP. Now, as you see, as I'm collecting these buffs, they're going to my bar on the bottom right there. Each buff has a different ability. The goal is now for me to transfer these buffs. What I didn't know at the time, and I made a little mistake on, is I just transferred them to any random enemy pretty much. It tells you on the thing who has a buff owned already, and the goal is to try to get 3 of the same buff again. So as you see, I now transferred my buffs to one person, and that was actually a mistake. I didn't know this at the time, but you actually want to keep some buffs that you need on yourselves and then transfer the buffs that you don't need to others. So with that in mind, we'll be able to fix this later on, and the reason why I kept this in here is because it will show you how to fix it if you make this huge mistake like I just did. So as you see, I have 0 buffs right now, and a bunch of our teammates have 0 buffs. If you go in fighting the boss like this, you're going to be missing 75% attack and 75% HP, and you will fail. So we'll show you how to fix that later on. Now, I'm just running around right now looking for the keys and looking for more buffs. I don't know if the keys and the buffs always spawn in the same spot, but right now I'm just looking around, seeing how I was trying to be like, okay, so why don't I have any buffs here? Nobody's giving me any buffs. And as you see, you can request some buffs. So I'm trying to request some buffs from some teammates right now. That way I could try to transfer them around, because I know for sure we will lose if we don't have that wish buff activated. And as you see right there, it needs 4 stacks of that to get you the maximum power. So they completely ignored me, so I thought, oh man, this is going to be a dead run, but no, we're just going to keep going. Hopefully we can get some more buffs, and anyways, we still got to find the key. So somebody transfers me the attack buff right here, which is nice, so I got 1 buff now. But I still need at least 2 more of the same one to get the wish. So I end up finding the final key up here, and if you don't know what the keys, how to get the keys, they're from these steel lizards right here. The easy way to tell is they're the lizards with the shields. You just destroy them and they'll drop the key. Now, if you do slay the 3 lizards and you get the keys early, do not go fight the boss right away. You want to collect some more buffs. How do you know if you've collected all the buffs? Well, when you click on the bottom left where it shows the little transfer screen, it will also tell you right here, it will tell you on the top how many buffs you have not yet discovered. And as you see, we haven't yet discovered 6. Now, as I'm looking through it, I can see that everybody's got a decent amount of buffs, but one guy's got a whole bunch of buffs. And everybody's got 2 buffs, 1 buff. Ultimately, you want to get to 3 buffs on a single person. Luckily, these guys didn't rush the boss right away. So what we did was we ran over here and we communicated, which is pretty important in this. It's not super important, to be fair, but luckily we worked as a team here. So I checked to see if anyone's talking, because nobody's doing anything right now. And I'm like, oh man, this isn't good. We don't only have 1 wish activated right now. We need all of the wish activated. So I'm over here like, okay, I need to request some buffs from this guy, because look at how many buffs he has. He does not need this many buffs. He should be transferring his buffs, not hogging all of them. But he doesn't understand. It's fair. It's still early on. And he sent a message saying he wasn't paying attention, and I noticed that. I was like, okay, cool. They're paying attention now. They're seeing what was going on. So now I'm requesting some buffs that I like. I like the frost one because I'm using the bow. And I'm looking at other people's things. This guy needs 1 attack buff, so I'm going to try to get him his 1 attack buff. So I'm gonna send a message to him right now, letting him know that we need to balance the buffs around. And again, the reason why we need to balance those buffs around is to get that wish activated. So I'm telling him I'll request for some buffs from him. That way I can transfer it around and give everyone their wish buff that they need. So again, I go to the guy that has a lot of the buffs, and I request from him. And I'm looking over, seeing what he needs, seeing what they need, and then I request the buff that we need. And then I transfer it to him, and then we are all set. Everybody has their 3 buffs, so the 4 wishes is activated. Even though we're still missing 6 buffs that we have yet to be found, it's not the biggest of deal. All that matters is we get that wish activated. I can't stress that enough. That is literally the biggest thing on this. If you do not get that wish buff activated, you will most likely lose, because it's 25% damage and HP per wish buff. I know I'm saying this a lot, but this is the most important thing. Now we can finally fight the boss. And one final time, in case you still don't understand how to get the wish buff, you just need 3 of the same kind of buff. If you don't have the 3rd one, go ahead and click the buffs on the bottom left and request a buff. That way you can have your 3 buffs. And if that guy's ignoring you, move on to the next teammate, and eventually somebody will hopefully answer you and give you your 3 buffs. So it's pretty simple, not too big. If you want to try to avoid most of the hassle, I recommend just, again, separating, and don't do what I did. Collect the buffs as fast as you can, and then split it up yourself. That way you have all the control and you don't have to request anything for anyone. But yeah, now we basically just beat up the boss and kill the boss, and that's pretty much it. But one last thing that I guess we can go over is when somebody dies. What happens when you die to the boss? When you die to the boss, you'll get a little flashing thing on your screen saying you're dying, you need to request for some aid, and somebody has to come over to you and press F to res you, basically. As you see on the left right there, that person just died. He's got that little bar charging up. If that bar reaches 100%, you don't revive, you actually permanently die. So you never want to let a teammate's bar fully charge, because if it does, then you're going to be down a teammate for the rest of this boss's life. If you all die, then you can restart the boss. You'll still keep your buffs and whatnot, but you'll have to have started him with full HP, and your time on the top left will be ticking down, so that is also not good. So again, we're just going to fight the boss, try to kill him as fast as we can, try to avoid as many attacks as possible, because you can't instantly heal. You gotta eat your food, and then the food has a decently long cooldown as well. So I recommend, if you've got at least one healer or a shielder, go ahead and bring him to help your teammates out. I have 0 to give everyone a small little shield. It's better than nothing. And as you saw in the beginning, this boss currently has electric resistance on right now, so make sure you're not using electric today. Tomorrow might be a different buff. It might say fire resistance. You might not want to use a fire weapon. Just pay attention to what resistances the boss has at the time and plan your weapons accordingly. Now this attack right here is super annoying. Luckily, I barely see this guy right here. We go ahead and revive him right here. And we rush to this guy, revive him too. That was dangerous right there. If those 2 guys died, then that would have been a lot harder for us. Luckily, we got the res off. Now I die right here. Now we can see you want to click call for help right away, because your teammates might not notice it, but if you click call for help, a big message will appear on their screen and they'll be able to come res you. Now this was pretty dangerous too, because they came to revive me, and while they're reviving me, they're also dying. So make sure you are very careful and try not to die. Like, that's obvious, but it makes it a lot more dangerous to go revive you and try to do all that quick stuff. But now the boss is almost dead. We're just doing some more big damage. Oh, and one other last thing too. If you see that little green circle right there when you're playing a co-op, try to stand inside that green circle. That green circle is a heal. It's one of your teammates' weapons. I'm not sure which weapon, it's either Nemesis or Coco. I imagine it's Coco. But you want to stand inside that green circle. It'll give you a heal. As you saw right there, a little 2,000 heal, a little 2,000 heal. So try to stay in that green circle when possible. And there you have it. We defeated the boss, and we got ourselves some good loot. We got a SSR Matricy, which is very insane. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys all enjoyed, and if you guys learned anything from this video, just make sure you activate that wish by getting 3 buffs. I can't stress that enough. Now, that's all I got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys all learned something today and will be able to get some SSR matrices for yourself. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.